It is time for another episode of Spot the Slop, where our contestants choose a category, are shown an image, and have to decide whether it's real or not. Welcome, contestants. It wasn't that long ago that you could just look at any image, zoom in on the hand, count the fingers, and if that number was higher than 5, you had yourself some AI art. But AI has gotten so much better at hands in the last year or so, but that doesn't mean you can't spot an AI image if you know what you're looking for. And it's actually pretty easy to do once you know a few things. So contestant 1, pick your category. I'll take architecture for 100. Architecture for 100. This is your first image. Vote now. What is your guess? Is this AI or was this done by a human? Oh, you guys got it right. This is AI. Buildings and architecture in general is one of the easiest tells in AI art. I have it here in Photoshop, so let me just kind of zoom in and go over to some of these pieces parts. I'm going to be focusing on this background image. Take a look at this tower right here. You can really tell when we get in close that this is AI. With AI, structurally, architecture tends to fall apart. So for example, we have this tower here. This is in 3D. We have our center line. We have our edge lines. The top of this forms sort of a cube, and what you would expect is if there's something round at the top of this is that it would be centered, so it would be this wide, but it's not. Instead, what we get is this really strong line right here that just kind of runs up and down the entire length of that object. That's just really kind of strange. There's some other things going on here too. For example, right down here, it looks like we're trying to get some kind of structural architecture in there, but it starts to kind of break apart. We also have some kind of structural thing going on up here, but it's hard to tell. It gets blurry and it's just a bunch of noise. It also looks like it might be some kind of brick texture from a distance, but when you zoom in, bricks don't go on angles like that. Bricks don't have curves like this. Also, the side of this kind of slopes upward. It's not a straight up and down line like you would expect. And as I pan around to other parts of the images, there are a lot of tells here as well. Let's take a look down here at the top of this roof. One of the easiest things to do would be to draw straight lines, but these are not straight lines. If I was just going to do hatch lines, it'd be very easy to do that, but the AI is not doing that. There's a variety and consistency of width of the lines. A lot of these lines are kind of arcing in weird ways. This chimney right here is just kind of a blob. So is the other chimney. And then one of the other big tells here is if this is the side of our building right here, this is our side, and this kind of defines the other side of our building. I'm not sure what's going on here. It's just kind of breaking apart. I would expect this roof line to kind of come in like this and be this sort of shape, and then maybe come down at another angle like this, but it's not. And we see this throughout the image as we kind of go to the other side, hand down a little bit more, and we see more of these lines here, which should be straight lines, but they're not. So that one is AI. Let's look at another image in the architecture category. What do you think this is, AI or not? Okay, you guys are learning to pick up on some of these details. Again, this has some of the same problems that our other image does. I'm going to zoom in here and maybe we'll kind of scroll up to the top. We'll take a look at what's going on. There's a lot of architectural detail and some of the things look good early on, right? I'm looking for blocks. Does this block make sense? This block also makes sense. But then when I start to look at the railings and things like that, the railings don't make sense. What exactly is going on here? What is this archy shape right there in this railing? When I get over to this railing, it's kind of a good idea to have a bent shape in that railing, but I would expect to have these lines kind of line up a little bit better, but they don't quite. Part of it is just the odd shape here. When I look at the underside of this definitely looks AI, and again, we get those lines that would be very easy to hatch in there, but instead they're kind of loopy and weird. The underside here is even worse, where this line just kind of curves for no reason at all. But the area that screams AI to me is down here at the bottom, this little staircase thingy. Zooming in, I can see that, okay, our top line here, that's on the right angle, but this next line right down here, it gets curvy and weird. I have no idea what's going on here. Also, these steps should be straight lines, but they're not. So even though some elements of this hold up, others do not. Last image, real or AI? What do you think? Oh, I got a couple of you here. This one is real. This is by artist Chief Fong. Now let's take a look at this, and I'm gonna zoom in here to some of our details and we can take a look at what he's done. So first of all, he's done some things to add some wear and tear to this. So if you look at some of these railings here, like here and here, the railings railings aren't perfect. They're a little bit bent, and that's okay. You want that to make it look worn. But there's still some uniformity to it. For example, there's this shape right here. It's got a middle line here, but what's on the other side of the railing? The same exact shape with the same exact middle line. What's happening on the far side of the railing? It's the same shape with the same middle line. So you have that architectural consistency. The one next to it is right here, and it has two lines in the middle. If I go across, it has two lines in the middle. If I go across again, it also has two lines in the middle. So even though the lines and things like that are not perfect, like right here, he's added a little bend to it to make this look worn and weathered and maybe bumped into by some machinery or something. The architecture itself, the underlying architecture, makes a lot of sense. You could also see that in the staircase. The stairs are evenly spaced. They have straight lines. They make sense, even though in some cases, like on these stairs, the lines aren't really super well defined with like hard ink lines. That's okay. Architecturally, they still make a lot of sense. Let's scroll up to the top and we see this corrugated roof thing going on here. And again, we see straight lines. We don't see a lot of loopy things. So those are the type of things I'm looking for in architecture. Here's another image. Now this is kind of photorealistic and it looks kind of AI-ish because it is sci-fi, but when you actually zoom in on some of these things, this like white stuff, this siding that goes right here, it's just kind of weird. You see that some of these lines just kind of warp and blend into each other. There's some lines over here that don't match into the other ones that seem to be curving around. There's just a lot of details like this, and whenever you zoom in on any architectural image, you start to see it. Wouldn't this glass line be a continuous line or a continuous slope? It's not. Why? I'll take text for 200. I was still talking. I don't care. Text for 200. Okay, fine. Is this image real or is this AI? You fools! It's AI! Early on, AI really sucked at making text. Like, really bad. Like, AI hands bad. But, like AI hands, it has gotten better. But it's still not great. Well, this image got some of the numbers looking good, and heck, it even got the Rolex logo pretty well. It still looks a little bit off when we zoom in. I think if you look at, like, the number 2, it looks a little rounded at parts. Let's take a look at this 50. I think this is really what kind of gives it away. That 5 just looks off. And while it did do a halfway decent job at the Rolex logo, when you look at the text underneath the Rolex logo, it's really gobbledygook. And then if you look at the text that's underneath that, that is definitely gobbledygook. So it does start to break down. Even when you give these systems the specific text that you want printed on it, it'll often like give you a unified font, but it can't replicate the exact text you give it. I have no idea what the popper of system means. Another thing to look for is the letter M, the letter N, and the letter W. It never knows how many loops to put in. Here's another W for you. Also, I don't know where his other finger went. I guess it's behind there? I'm not sure. Maybe it's just small. All right, here's another image for points. Real art or AI? This one is tough, but you guys got it. Good job. It is AI. Now, the dead giveaway here is the text along the side of the marker. It is just nonsense. These systems have processed a ton of images with text in them, but it doesn't understand that it is text. It sees text as just another texture that it's replicating. There's no logic behind it. And that's exactly how it's treating this marker. The text here is just another decorative element that it's trying to reproduce. Oh, that sound means that we have a bonus round. This bonus round is called AI or Monkey. I'm going to show you an image and you have to tell me if it's AI or a picture of an actual monkey. Here we go. Derek, is this AI or a monkey? Monkey. No, I'm sorry, it's AI. Look at how over airbrushed it is. How'd you not get that? Dark Brad, here is your image. That's totally AI. Monkeys are blind. That is correct, but also wrong. Monkeys are not blind. I meant colorblind. I don't think that's true. And they can't tie ties. Moving on. Dale the Murder Goat. Correct. This is a real monkey. You get to choose the next category. Object permanence for 300. Was this drawn by a human or an AI? This is a tricky one, but it is AI. The giveaway here is object permanence. That is, the AI has a really time tracking an object once it can't see it or once it goes behind another object. Our hand up here is kind of in a weird place. If we take a look at this arm and we just track it to where it should go, it's kind of moving up here. So you would put the hand right about here. It should be up higher and over more from where it is. You could either move the hand or you could change the angle of the arm to be more like that. But there are some other things going on with this image as well. For example, this branch right here, I'm going to highlight it. Once it hits this leaf, it completely disappears. You would expect that branch to appear just a little bit down here, so it's reconnecting with the main branch that it's coming off of, supposedly. Another one is this image real or AI? Well done, everybody. This was created by an artist named Awankwi. If you want to support him and get a print of this image, I'll link that down below in the description. Even though there's a lot of elements disappearing behind other elements, they all make sense. For example, these flags. This tracks all the way down this way. This rope line here starts here, goes behind one of the sails, and still continues. The other rope line does the other thing behind those flags. These rope lines here, they connect with the rope lines underneath it. Even this character's legs show up in the right spot, even though they're going behind one of the sails. You can spot this in photos too. For example, his hand underneath that piece of paper, it's not sure what to do with it under there. And I'm not sure what's going on with all of these hands over there. And you'll see this sort of quirky thing with human libs all the time with AI art. For example, her shoulder is right there. And that means that arm is probably coming down like this. I suppose maybe it's at a greater angle, but then I don't think the sleeve would kick out quite the same way down to here. A lot of poses just look a little bit off, especially if they're going behind something like her head. For points again, what about this one? Oh, you guys saw this a mile away. This is the type of things that drives artists nuts. Okay, clearly we have the sword hilt over here. And so where should that go? It should continue in a straight line behind her. But where is the back of the sword? It's way up here. I think that's the back of the sword. It's kind of moving into gobbledygook again. This one's a little bit trickier, but it has the same problem. When you look at the main sword, I think this one is okay because it's probably disappearing below her arm, so we're never seeing. The sword on the other side disappears behind her. We don't see that one either. But then we have 1, 2, 3 hilts. Where are those going? 2 and 3 look like they're behind her. So it's possible that we just don't see where those are. Those are just disappearing forever. But it's also confusing because it looks like we have 1, 2, 3 more hilts over here that are in front of her. What are those hilts for? What direction did they come from? It's not really that clear. This is the type of thing that drives most artists crazy and that they're really particular about in their real work. Okay, what is our next category?
Stuff that don't make sense for 800 billion.
Whoa, how do we go from 300 to that? 800 billion is how much Microsoft is burning each year to develop their AI, and that don't make no sense either. So here is your image, real or fake. Some decent guesses here. This is AI. The giveaway, they're walking away on a boat. This is gonna be a real short walk. AI makes a lot of images that when you really think about them, they just don't make sense. This is a man in a, I don't know what this is, but where are his legs? And why is he eating broccoli? I found this series of images of brides in tree houses for some reason. Someone wanted that. And believe it or not, that's not the part that makes no sense. It's how she got up there. How does this ladder work? It comes up this way, and then it like takes an angle and it goes up. But what's really confusing is who builds a railing to their treehouse directly in front of the ladder? There's no way to get in the treehouse. Lousy wedding present. Here's another one from the series, and it's a little bit better because at least she can get onto the porch. But like, how did she get up this ladder? Because look at the rungs. There's not enough rungs. She's missing some steps here. Now this one actually looks pretty good, and at first glance, it looks like just a nice Western photograph until you start to look a little closer and you see the refrigerator and all the bottles in it and you see where the lid is and you're like, how am I gonna close that? There's stuff in the way. Also, I don't know what's going on down here. Is this a log? Are these ducks? Oh man, these raspberries look really good. I would totally eat this. The only problem is if you bit into a chocolate like this or even very carefully cut it open, it would not look like this. That's not how raspberries look when you cut them. And clearly this has been trained on a lot of raspberries, but never been trained on a raspberry that has been smushed or cut or bitten into. These are some images of looms, and again, this has clearly been trained on looms before. It knows what a loom is supposed to look like, but it has no idea how a loom actually works and how a person has to actually sit by it, next to it, in front of it, put their legs somewhere, press on the pedals. Now, a lot of the images I've looked at in this category are photorealistic, but this applies to illustrations as well. For example, take a look at this red book in the middle here. Why does it have 2 spines? Why is the book on top of it defying gravity? Also, we know how schoolhouses work here in America. It's like every student has a desk, but it doesn't understand that conceptually. It just knows that there's students and desks in a room, and so that's what it has. Also, this girl, we know you're not awake. You're not fooling anyone. And the girl in the back needs to get a new ventriloquist dummy. That's looking a little rough around the edges there. I actually have 4 images like this, and they all kind of have the same problem where there's not enough desks for each student, and it gets a little bit... Oh god, what's going on here? Blur it out! I don't want to be demonetized! Now the model has been trained on cardboard boxes, and it knows that cardboard boxes have clear packing tape on them, but it has no idea why humans would tape them or what the purpose of taping a box is. And so you get these boxes with just tape in weird spots all over the place. I guess we're down to our last category here, which is swirlies and nonsense textures. So here it is, guys. Is this image real or AI? Haha, I got you again, you fools! And I can see where a lot of people would think this is real. First of all, there's a lot of white space, which is not something you see a lot in AI images. There's also this scripty font. So you'd think, okay, scripty font, it's doing text well. But when you actually stop to look at it, you realize, oh, it's doing the goofy N thing again, where it doesn't know how many loops go into an N, and so you get Gandhi with too many letters. Also, I think the text underneath it is kind of fallen apart a little bit. But the main thing that I want to look at is the texture that's used in this image. I'm going to zoom into this building, and you're going to see what I'm talking about, which is just on these towers and things like that. There's just a lot of extra texture that doesn't make a lot of sense. So let's take a look at this tower right here. It's just a lot of texture that's kind of looping over itself, and this just isn't how people draw lines, right? That's not how most people texture things. Usually if you're using ink lines, you'd kind of use lines that follow each other, and then maybe every so often they'd go into each other a little bit. These kind of shapes are just really unusual in real life art. Let's move over to Gandhi himself because you just see it a ton. Instead of line art, you just get a lot of swirly looking art. And these ink lines just don't make sense. They're just kind of coming from everywhere. They're going around. They're kind of looping. Taking a look at his hands, you can really see that. This is a turtle cat picture. You know, it looks photorealistic at first, but even photorealism has these things. Here, let me get it right. And you can kind of see on that shell, we just got a lot of that same kind of weird alien looking texture. The kind of texture you never really see in real life photos or real life drawings. Doesn't mean a human couldn't make that or couldn't replicate it. It's just so unusual, and it's the type of pattern that pops up in AI art all the time. Here's a cartoony looking drawing. If we zoom in on his toga, ignore his foot. Poor guy looks like he's having some problems down here. But you would think you'd have kind of a consistent line dividing that toga going up, and then you would have some lines kind of coming down. And you're kind of getting that, but you're just getting a lot of noise and weird texture lines and wobbly goops and stuff like that going on in here as well. We're also seeing that same texture kind of appear over here on the side, and a lot of these rock formations as texture as well. And again, it's not that a human couldn't make those textures, it's that you just don't see it very often, but you see it a lot in AI art. Here's another image. At first, it just looks like an anime girl. Okay, where's the weird texture here? But when we start looking in the backgrounds, this would normally be like a perfect circle, but it's not. You've got this graffiti kind of mixing into it, and it's not normal graffiti. It's just kind of gobbledygook graffiti. Same thing with some of the textures down here on her shoes. So let's tally up those scores. Dale, congratulations! You get to choose your prize. What would you like? You want it? Eat one of the other contestants? Okay, I guess that's fine. What? Hey, I came up with way more examples than would fit in this video. If you want to see more examples of how to spot AI art, let me know down below in the comments. Also, if you have your own ways of spotting AI art, I would love to know that too. Let me know that down below in the comments. And if you want to see more videos like this one, I would check out this one on Adobe I recently did. I really loved it. Everybody who watched it really loved it, but the algorithm hated it, so check that out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in a couple of days.